Hey everyone, John here. I hope everyone is having a great time spending spending the quality time with your family and your pets. I pray that everyone's healthy and doing well. Um, Before we get started here, I want to do a little devotion here in a minute. But before we get started, I would like to ask each one of you, if you don't mind, at some point in time in the next few days, to snap a picture of you and your family doing something fun or just whatever it may be, and post it to our church Facebook webpage. I know there's a lot of people who would love to see each other and see what you're up to. So if you don't mind doing that, I would appreciate that, and I think it'll be a lot of fun to see each other in that way. Today I want to do just a quick devotion on the Luke 24, starting at verse 13. So if you don't mind flipping over to that or getting getting it on your little iPhone or Android device there, that'd be awesome. So let's see here. Let me find out. Just scroll past it. This is about the disciples who are on the road to Emmaus, and they encounter Jesus. It says, now on that same day, two of them were on their way to a village called Emmaus, which was about 7 miles from Jerusalem. Together they were discussing everything that had taken place. And while they were discussing and arguing, Jesus himself came near and began to walk along with them, but they were prevented from recognizing him. Then he asked them, what is this dispute that you are having with each other as you're walking? And they stopped walking, and looked discouraged. The one named Cleopas answered him, are you the only visitor in Jerusalem who doesn't know these things that happen there in these days? What things? He asked them. So they said to him, the things concerning Jesus the Nazarene, who was a prophet, powerful in action and speech before God and all the people, and how our chief priests and leaders handed him over to be sentenced to death, and they crucified him. But we were hoping that he was the one who was about to redeem Israel. Besides all this, it's the third day since these things happened. Moreover, some women from our group astounded us. They arrived early at the tomb, and when they didn't find his body, they came and reported that they had seen a vision of angels who said he was alive. Some of those who were with us went to the tomb and found it just as the women had said, but they didn't see him. He said to them, how unwise and slow you are to believe in your hearts all that the prophets have spoken. Didn't the Messiah have to suffer these things and enter into his glory? Then, beginning with Moses and all the prophets, he interpreted for them the things concerning himself and all the scriptures. They came near the village where they were going, and he gave the impression that he was going farther. But they urged him, stay with us, because it's almost evening, and now the day is almost over. So he went in to stay with them. It was as he reclined at the table with them that he took the bread, blessed and broke it, and gave it to them. Then their eyes were opened, and they recognized him, but he disappeared from their sight. What a just a great picture, and that these two are walking down this road, having an argument about what they heard and possibly saw, and then all of a sudden Jesus appears. But he's actually has not just appeared to them, but he's actually came to them disguised. Now, how he was disguised, we don't know. I'm not sure if he had some sort of clothing on with something over his face, or if he completely looked a little bit different to them. Nobody really knows. But he catches them arguing about what happened, and he asks them what happened. So imagine being asked by Jesus, would you tell me, what happened? Tell me the story about myself. Kind of puts somebody on the spot. And so as they're telling him, they leave out, of course, they don't go through all the detail. They really leave out the large chunks of the actual entire story of Jesus. And they focus on basically the chief priest had Jesus killed. And so, they're a little bit disappointed because they really thought Jesus was the Redeemer of Israel, and yet here it is the third day, and he's just gone. Nobody knows where he's at, and they're not focusing on the entire picture and everything that they know from the past Jesus even says how unwise and slow you are to believe in your hearts that all of the prophets have spoken. We have the Old Testament before us. And so did they. And so they were completely ignoring everything, all these prophecies about who Jesus was, what was going to happen, and what the results would be. Yet they ignored all that. They were focused on that little minor detail. So it makes me, really think about how many times we get so caught up on the minor details that we don't focus on the larger picture, of Christ and what God has in store for us. How many times does that happen to you? How many times do you get focused on the little minor details when really we should open our minds and look and listen for what God is showing us and telling us throughout His Word. And then it also makes me sit here and just really kind of ponder about, if I'm in communication, if I'm talking, if I'm speaking, and Jesus shows up, what will He catch me saying? Will it be something He will be happy to hear, or will it be something that He's not so happy to hear? I truly believe our speech and how we act is very important as Christians. We're working towards holiness. We want to be a holy people. That's what He's called us to be. And so if Jesus came to you today, would He find that? Or would He find you disgruntled, unhappy, even though He died for you on that cross to give you peace and joy and a life full of goodness? And then there was three things. So the third thing is, what if we imitated Jesus? Think about friends. Think about family. Put them in the place of these disciples. If they were walking and talking and arguing or whatever it may be, and you could approach them and imitate Jesus in this story, would you? Would you be willing to walk as far as Jesus did with these disciples? Now, it doesn't necessarily say how far it was that He walked with them, but remember, it was 7 miles from Jerusalem to Emmaus. That's quite a distance. But He walked with them, I'm sure, for a little while, and spent time with them and actually shared with them the story before He revealed who He was. Are you willing to devote that much time and that much energy and that much passion into giving the good news to friends and family? I really hope so. I want you to focus on that this week and really just think about trying to do that. And you don't have to beat somebody over the head with the Bible. Jesus didn't do that here in this story. He walked with them. He actually questioned them. He wanted to know more about what they knew so He could respond, appropriately. And that's what we should do as well. We should ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. And that way we can respond appropriately to the needs of others. So do that for me. Would you focus on that this week and think about what you could do, how you could act, and to imitate Jesus as He was on the road to Emmaus with these disciples. I believe that wholeheartedly that is what He wants us to do. He wants us to be just like Him and walk a holy life and share His story and His grace with everybody. So do that, please, as you go throughout this week. I hope everyone takes away from this story something that they can use, and this time it was wonderful spending time with you. I can't wait to see you next time and hopefully be in person with you next time here soon. God bless you. God loves you. Have a good evening.